like myself, says Oakley. And I suppose I'll put on record our thanks to IT as always for enabling this type of interaction in a hybrid meeting and allowing things to proceed, and to Kim in the chamber, who's going to help with the normal process of people coming in to speak in the chamber. Okay, so item 1 on the agenda is apologies. Any apologies? Anybody?
Carly, thanks, Chair. Councillor Maguire here. An apology from Councillor O'Reilly. Gormagan.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the apologies, members. So item 2 then is to sign the minutes and confidential minutes of the previous meeting held on the 16th of December 2021. Due to the fact that I'm working chairing the meeting remotely today, those will be signed at a later date with your agreement. Just have to sign them in person. We're all agreed with that.
Agreed. Yep.
Thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest.
Councillor Deacon, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Item 7.0, planning decisions issued. Family member involved there, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Deacon. That is noted. And item 4 then is the matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting.
I was going to bring Councillor Irvine in, Chair.
Sorry, Chair. I'm going to cut it across you, but because we've gone outside protocol, I think we would need a proposer and seconder that you sign the minutes after the meeting. I'm happy to propose. I think we've all agreed to it, but I think we need to get it down as a matter of record. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Nice and proposed by Councillor Irvine.
Seconded by Councillor Thompson, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Thanks for that. Keep that right. Thank Right, we're looking at the minutes now to the previous meeting. Just any matters arising. So Thursday, 16th December, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. No matters arising there. Okay. So moving on then, members, to item 5 on the agenda. And item 5 is to consider one file for decision by the planning committee, and that's paper A. For members, that's application 1, LA10 2021 0584 LBC. And that's Darren to introduce the application.
Okay, good afternoon, members. So paper A then, application 1 is LA10 2021 0584 LBC, so it's for listed building consent. It's an application by the council, and it's for the proposed installation of telecommunication apparatus in Ederney Town Hall. The recommendation is to grant listed building consent for the reasons listed within the report, and subject to 2 conditions. Take you through the details now, members. On the screen then, I'm sure you know the location of the town hall. You can see on the screen there the outline of the building. The plans then, as a listed building consent application, the plans include a lot of detailed information. So on the screen then, the annotation there states that small entry points to be drilled above the doorway at the side of the building and through the old rear stone wall between the porch and the office. And the cable then will be fitted inside new white trunking high on the wall of the porch in the office. And you can see the route of the cable and trunking as it comes in off the street from the bottom arrow and then along the red dotted line inside the building. Bottom left plan then is the floor plan. So you can see the blue line is the proposed fibre route inside the building. So it comes in above the doorway, runs in on the inside of the wall, round through into the office. And on the top right then of the slide, you can see the location then of the area above the door where it'll come in. So there'll be a small hole drilled in the wall, then it'll trunk round on the top of near to the ceiling. Once then it arrives in the office at the end point, there's two new boxes, and you can see those on the screen, the left and the right. And those will be fixed then in the position shown on the photograph in the center of the slide, underneath that existing desk in the office. And the recommendation then is to approve listed building consent for the reasons listed within the report, subject to the two conditions.
Okay, members, so we have an opportunity for any questions to the officer in relation to the application.
And Councillor Thompson, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. It's not really a question. I just want to thank Darren for bringing us through that application. I see Councillor Coyle coming on here, but if we were ready for a decision, I would have come in then. But I'll let Councillor Coyle speak here first. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. No, read the report, comprehensive, and it takes into consideration the type of building that the town hall is, a important building in Ethernay. But I presume Councillor Thompson was going to make a proposal, so I'll come in after him.
Okay, Chair. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much again, Chair. Thanks to Councillor Coyle for that. I'm going to propose a recommendation as listed with the two conditions. Thank you, Chair.
I think Councillor Coyle perhaps going to come in on that.
I'll second, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, members, we have the proposed and seconded. Are we all in agreement? No dissent in the chamber or online?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you, councillors. We'll ask Darren just to sum up. Thanks.
So members, for the reasons listed within the report, it was recommended the application for listed building consent be approved, subject to two conditions. Members have granted listing building consent, subject to those conditions.
Okay, thank you, members. So moving on to item 6, and it's to consider two delegated files called in for decision by the planning committee. Paper B for information, and the first application number 1, LA10 2020 08980, and I'm actually going to ask at this point, it may be appropriate, I believe, to go into committee.
Next one.
In case there's any.
Chair, I think that on this occasion, it's the next application potentially. There may be
Sorry,
confidential.
apologies. My apologies. Okay, members. So I'd ask Darren to introduce the application.
Okay, members. So paper B then, application 1 is LA10 2020 08980. It's an outline application for dwelling and domestic garage on a farm by Mr. Rosdale. And the location then is on the Ballintemple Road in Belcoo. The recommendation is to refuse planning permission for the reasons listed within the report and subject to 4 reasons. Members will recall the application was presented last month. There was a request for deferral, and members agreed then to defer the application for 1 month to afford the applicant an opportunity to seek speaking rights and make representations to the committee. No speaking rights have been received, and the application then is now presented for decision. So I'll just take you through the details then of the application. On the screen then is the farm map. As I say, it's an application for a house on a farm under CTY 10. So the applicant has provided their farm business map, and you can see that on the screen. And these are the maps then that go with it. And you can see the outline then in yellow of the land that's claimed subsidies on. A second map then and the third. So the application then is an outline application. The site location plan on the screen shows the site identified in red, and you can see it coming in off the public road and an L shape going around the back to where the green buildings are. The drawing does include a proposed annotation or suggested annotation where the proposed dwelling would be. I'll show you that in more detail. On the screen now you can see then the yellow star is where the proposed dwelling is applied for, and it's shown by the rectangle with the garage then at the rear and the access off the public road. The other buildings then, the farm buildings then, are identified in green up at the back of the site, and you can see then on this slide again showing the position of the proposed dwelling identified with the yellow star with the proposed garage then beside it, and then the other buildings then beside that. The aerial photographs then, so looking down you can see the site then is the field running to the side of the existing dwelling, and it stretches, the application site includes land into the rear around the existing buildings. And that's the approximate position then. If I annotate the proposed location onto the aerial photograph, that's the approximate position in line with the other dwellings along the edge of the road with the access shown by the blue arrow. And then that's a photograph just looking into the site. There is an alternative position, members. You'll note from the report that the report does include a suggested alternative position which would meet the planning policy, and that's sited at the back of the site, and the access could come in through the existing sort of location. So if it was pushed to the back, it would overcome the visual impact and the ribbon development issues due to the setback. However, the application is in detail. It does include a proposed siting, and we have to consider what's before us. One of the issues being made is that the applicant has not used his 1 in 10 that he's allowed under CTY 10. And this is the planning history that's referred to within the report. So you can see the application L 2013-0222 was a full application. And that's the application forms. I've snipped the detail out of the forms that are relevant. And you can see there, I've just typed on the information so everybody can see clearly who the applicant was. So it's Mr. and Mrs. G. Rosdale. The agent then is Roland Murphy of Craft Village in Bleak. Number 7 then is details of the proposed development. This is the retention of a dwelling for use as a farm dwelling under CTY 10. That application 0222 was a full application and was accompanied by farm details for Mr. Rosdale, and that's a snip of the form P1C, which give us details of the farm business number, and you can see the active farmer is Mr. Jared Rosdale of Belcoo. That approval 0222 was granted full planning permission to retain the dwelling for use as a farm dwelling under CTY 10. That was for Mr. and Mrs. Rosdale, and the agent was Roland Murphy. So you can clearly see the application was made under CTY 10 using Mr. Rosdale's farm business ID and was granted on the basis of that. As a result, the applicant has used his 1 in 10 that's allowable under CTY 10, and therefore a second approval within the 10 years cannot be granted. So for the reasons listed within the report, the application then is contrary to the policies and subject to the 4 reasons for refusal.
Okay, thank you, Darren. An opportunity for members to ask any questions they might have at this point. Don't see anyone indicating online. And in the chamber, I'm not sure if anyone has any questions on that. We have seen the report, obviously, and
No indications in the chamber, Chair.
no indications in the chamber. Okay, members, so I've seen the report and received the report, summary of the report. The recommendation is to refuse planning permission. Are members in agreement with the recommendation?
Sir McLaughlin, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We've been offered nothing to the contrary, and I can see no other way forward, so we have to go with the officer's recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. A proposal in support of the officer's recommendation.
Chair, sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair. I agree with my colleague. There's nothing actually been put forward to rebut any of the refusal reasons, and therefore I'm going to second the refusal. Thank you.
Okay, members, so we have a proposal and it's been seconded in support of the officer's recommendation to refuse. Is everyone in agreement? There's no dissent. Okay, well, that's passed down just to sum up that application. Thank you, members.
So members, the application LA 10 2020 8980 was recommended for refusal for 4 reasons. Members have granted refusal, members have refused planning permission for the 4 reasons within the report.
Okay, thanks, Darren. And moving on now, sorry, and that was my mistake. So the next application, I'd like, I'd like to go into confidential business. So maybe ask for a proposer to do that. To move into committee.
Proposed Chair, Councillor Garda here.
Thank you, Councillor.
Seconded, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Rainey. And so just give us a wee moment to make sure Councillor Robinson, thank you. Just get confirmation that we're live again.
As Chair, we're live again, and if I could just give the report. So during confidential business, members considered application LA 10 2021 1201F, and it was agreed unanimously to defer the application for 2 months to seek further information. Would be considered at the March meeting.
Okay, thank you, Kim. So item 7 then is to note,
Chair, could I just get a proposer and seconder for that?
sorry, proposed and seconded for that.
So proposed, Chair.
Proposed by Councillor Rennie,
Seconded, Chair.
Councillor Thompson, thank you. And moving on then to item 7, and that's to note the schedule of planning decisions issued in December 2021, paper C.
Okay, members, so paper C then is planning decisions issued in December 2021. You'll note from the report, members, 148 planning decisions were issued, of which 117 are related to planning applications. I'll come on under agenda item 10, just in more detail on the overall performance for the council over the last quarter.
Councillor Irvine, Chair.
Happy to propose, Chair.
Happy to second.
Okay, proposed and all agreed. Item 8 then is to note update report on planning enforcement in December 2021. That's paper D.
So members will note that there were no notices issued in December. However, the live caseload has been reduced down. It's now 212, with 23 cases closed in December.
Sir Thompson, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Post to note.
Seconded.
Proposed and seconded. Thank you, Councillor Thompson and Rennie. Okay, so item 9 is to note update report on planning appeals in December 2021. That's paper E.
Okay, members, so there was one application, one planning appeal decided by the Commission in December, and I put the map on the screen just for everybody's information. The application was a site for a dwelling at Botterer Road by Mr. Bothwell. The application was refused by officers under delegated authority with a decision issued by Commissioner McParland. So you'll note from the screen, the application was made under CTY 2A, so as a dwelling in a cluster. Commissioner found the surrounding buildings do not appear as one visual entity, but as 2 distinct groups. And you can see that on the screen. So a group to the top of the site and a group to the bottom. And as a result, there were only really 2 houses that read with the site. So there weren't 4 more buildings, of which at least 3 were dwellings, and there was no cluster. Although the site visually integrated, a new building would extend the built development in the direction of the crossroads, and this would visually intrude into the landscape, failing to meet policy CTY 14 as well as CTY 2A. There were objections to the application, and the Commissioner found that the siting of the new dwelling would not impact on the residential amenity of nearby houses. And there was an issue raised by objectors about the impact of a septic tank and pollution. And the Commissioner decided that there was no evidence to demonstrate that there would be a risk of pollution. And interestingly, she also noted that a separate consent to discharge application would be required prior to the installation of a septic tank, and therefore did not sustain any reasons for refusal. So the appeal was dismissed with the issues raised by officers sustained, and the application found contrary to CTY 2A.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Do we have any proposed?
Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Darren, for your report. Proposed to note, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you.
Robinson.
Seconded.
Okay, proposed and noted and all agreed. Item 10 then is the quarterly live caseload report for Q3 of 2021 to 22, paper F.
Okay, members, so paper F then is the quarterly update. I've just put the table on the screen there, members, if you want, just for ease of reference. You can see the statistics for Q3 and Q2 of the current year. So really what we're looking at is the difference between Q2 and Q3. You can see the number of applications received was down from 332 to 318. So there was a reduction in the number of applications being received. The life planning files then, you can see the under 6 months, there's been a drive by officers, and I'd like to commend the team for this, to issue as many approvals and get decisions out the door as possible. So the reduction in live files for young files under 6 months is down from 493 to 373, which I'm sure you'll acknowledge is a considerable effort by the team. So I'd like to put on record my thanks to them all. In terms of the other applications then, between 6 and 12 months has stayed the same. The 12 and 18 has increased, and 18 to 24 has reduced slightly, and the over 24 has increased from 37 to 44. So that is the next focus of our attention to get those numbers down. But as you can see, the trend is heading in the right direction to reduce applications and get them out the door as soon as we can.
Councillor Irvine, Chair.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but it's probably coloured now by one remark I think that Darren made, and possibly it was over enthusiastic in that he was advising those officers below him to get as many approvals out through the door as quickly as possible. Possibly what he meant was to process as many applications as quickly as possible and get them off the desk. That aside, I think consistently, I think we have to pay tribute to our officers, and I'll do it quickly, in that they do process in the main far quicker than the majority of the other 10 councils within the jurisdiction. And if you look month on month and quarter on quarter with regard to the approval rate, I think it goes far and away above what others have. What it shows, I think, is that the agents on behalf of the applicants are processing applications that are now more policy compliant. We do have issues coming across the committee where there are ones that are borderline, and it is right that those do come in front of us because they do need, I suppose, the particular talents, I'll put it that way, of the committee to forensically investigate the areas that the officers are less comfortable with examining in total detail, and the amount of scrutiny that we as officers are prepared, not as officers, sorry, as councillors, are prepared to put to that. That said, I would hope that we as committee members bring the mantra that when we are looking at those odd cases, that it's all within the umbrella of policy, and that we can elaborate and elucidate the issues where we may slightly differ from the view taken by the officers. But that said, well done, officers, and keep the good work up. Thanks very much.
Support those comments, of course, and I know that there'll be agreement from the committee in relation to that. So you're proposing to note, Councillor Irvine. Do we have a seconder for that?
Councillor Thompson, seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay, so now we're moving on to item 11, correspondence.
Thank you, Chair. And we have one item of correspondence at item 11, and it's correspondence from Shared Environmental Service, which is located in, provided by Mid and East Antrim Council. And this correspondence is in relation to the Council's representations in regard to the current consultation reply performance for Fermanagh District Council by SES. The correspondence notes that SES is unable to respond to consultations until after the NIEA response is provided, and on submission of the NIEA response, SES then prioritises completion of the Habitats Regulation Assessment and response to Council. And at 14th of January 22, SES had 15 open consultations from Fermanagh Council, 2 cases on hold pending further response to their queries to the planning team, and 3 are on hold pending NIEA response, and that they expect some of the cases will also have outstanding NIEA consultations, which will then delay the SES response.
Members, so perhaps at the moment not a huge issue there, but something that I'm sure officers are keeping an eye on. Do we have a proposal to note, Councillor Boyd?
Yeah, I'll propose to note, Chair, just that I know that John Boyle, Director, had sent out an email about a meeting with NIEA. From this correspondence, could we get this issue raised at that meeting as well? Thank you.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, councillor.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Rennie. Happy to second the noting of the letter and what John is suggesting, but I don't really think it's good enough. And I think the first sentence, you know, the whole system gives it all away. You know, we're thanked for our letter, and the next sentence is I apologise for the delay in responding. So I think there's an irony there already. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think councillor Rennie had seconded the noting of that and supported by councillor Garrity. Members, item 12 then is any other relevant business. I've not been informed of any items to consider.
Councillor Irvine, Chair.
No, I'm just about to propose to go into committee.
Yep, happy to take that proposal and a seconder for that. Councillor
Second, Councillor Robertson.
by Councillor Coyle. Okay, members, just ask him to comment on. I think.
Thank you, Chair. So during confidential business, members considered matters arising from the confidential minute of the meeting held on 16th of December, and there were no matters arising.
Okay, members, thank you. Thank you, Kim. Well, that concludes our.
Sorry, a proposer and seconder, Chair.
Sorry.
Just
Chair. Councillor Deehan, thank you.
Councillor Deehan,
Second, Councillor Coyle.
Councillor Coyle, and all agreed. Okay, members, so that concludes our business for today. I want to thank you all for your presence, both offline and in the online and offline. And in particular, I want to thank our IT team for their support, as always, and indeed for Kim and her role, additional role today in facilitating the smooth running of the committee and making sure that even those people in the chamber got to speak. Okay, so thanks very much for your attendance, and safe home to everyone.